Well, hello and welcome to Business Morning. It's still the second trading week of December. Let's get to the top stories that set your agenda now, starting with how the market performed yesterday. We kicked off the week on a strong footing as renewed investor interest in banking, insurance stocks, pushed the market capitalization by about 247 billion naira. That's for the first trading day yesterday. And the NGX benchmark index there, 0.26%. We're sitting on 93.96 trillion at the close of trade yesterday. Volume value deals, we see all of that in the green, 580 million. That was traded. Compared to Friday's trade, this is more, showing investors were all out for yesterday's trade. 30,090, that's for deals. All in the green at this point. And then let's get a check on other parameters. Now we see for the top gainers, Morrison led 9.89% up, 3.89 cover to close. Now we see Dow Communications, that's the top loser there, 7.14% down, 91 cover. If you look at the top trades for yesterday, I'm sure financial services there, FCMB, 129 million units traded, Japan Gold, financial services again, Zenith Bank, 41.98 million traded. Let's move on from market now. We'll see how the market closes today. We'll give you an intraday trade later at 1:30. Then we see for the SEC, they're pushing for faster settlements, moving from T+3 to T+2 and planning T+1 and T+0 cycles. The SEC Director General, Momotimi Agama, said this during the second Capital Market Committee meeting for 2025. Reforms cover the Nigerian Exchange, NASD, OTC, and Lagos Commodities and Futures Exchange, alongside strong market gains and active capital raising. The SEC says it's also automating approvals and corporate reporting. So yes, that's the day you make the trade plus when it's settled. So now we're at T+2, and now we're seeing the SEC aiming for T+1 and T+0. That T+0, very interesting. So immediately you make that trade, you're getting value. That'll be quite incredible to watch. We'll definitely be looking out for that. All right, to other matters now in financial services and FX market. The Central Bank of Nigeria, they've confirmed that 82 BDCs have received final operating license under its revised 2024 regulatory guidelines. The approval, which took effect from 27th of November 2025, follows the bank's powers under the Bofia Act 2020. The CBN says only BDCs listed on the Apex Bank website are authorized to operate, and the bank urges the public to avoid unlicensed operators. Operating a BDC without a license is an offense under Section 57 of Bofia. The CBN advises consumers and businesses to take note of that. All right, we see the federal government is set to make a major leap towards full cashless governance, announcing that from January 1st, 2026, all its revenues will be collected strictly through digital channels, with cash payments completely banned. At the heart of the reform is a new mandatory e-receipt system. The Federal Treasury and e-receipt, FTER, and full rollout of the revenue optimization platform, a unified digital system that will monitor and reconcile all government earnings across MDAs. According to the Ministry of Finance, this shift will cut out unauthorized charges, block leakages, and help the government recover revenues previously considered lost, marking one of the biggest overhauls of public sector payments in years. All right, let's get a quick check on what's playing out in the oil market. Now we see oil prices edge down today, extending losses from the 2% drop in the previous session, with markets keeping a close eye on peace talks to end Russia's war in Ukraine. We're also seeing concerns about ample supply and a looming decision on U.S. interest rates. We're getting that decision tomorrow. That's for the midweek trade. WTI back below $60. It did try to get above that earlier in yesterday's trade, so we're trading at $58.80, 0.14% down. Brent crude, $62.46 a barrel, just about 5 basis points down, still holding on to that $60 level. Well, joining me now is Halima Adediran, Senior Associate, Financial Derivatives Company. Great to have you on the show, Halima. Good morning.
Good morning, Ladi. Thanks for having me.
Fantastic. Ongoing peace talks between Ukraine and Western leaders. How's that, shaping market sentiment around global oil prices? We're seeing it down this morning.
Okay, so we need to understand that when it comes to oil price, it is affected by geopolitical tension because it tends to threaten the supply side. And starting from this week, we'll see that both WTI and Brent has been trading downwards because of the ongoing talks between Ukraine and Russia. So the market is trying to price in optimism as regards the expectation of the agreement and the discussion, meaning the market is hopeful that it will be a positive one, which will mean that the Russia, which is part of the top producing country in the world, will be able to increase its supply, and the sanction is being faced will be removed. Logistic bottleneck will be removed, and also the insurance restrictions too will be taken off for the country, which will mean an increase in the supply of oil in the global markets, meaning it will increase the supply and reduce the price. And so this would cause so many things and implications for various countries, depending on where we are looking at it from, either from the supply side or the demand side. For investors that are into commodity trading, especially the oil market, we will see that they could reduce their long position in terms of trading for the commodity. But for exporting countries, they could see a kind of currency weakening would happen to export countries, while the import countries would see a kind of ease in terms of their oil price, inflation, and all. So putting all this together, we will see that the talk is helping in terms of driving down the price of oil in expectation of a good and positive result. But we still have to know that the oil price is sensitive to so many things, and which includes the diplomatic progress, OPEC plus strategy, and demand trends. So those things will still affect what the price of oil will look like. So when we now come to Nigeria as a consumer and a producer, so this brings us back to reassessing our policy strategy in terms of projection of oil price, revenue as regards oil price, and even our budget implementation. So we need to look into the trend of oil price, the supply, and the demand to really make our budget and the outlook for 2026 a good one for the country.
Right, because it seems most of 2025, oil has been struggling. At this point, we've seen that, range trade, so far. But let's look at, output, definitely impacts prices. To what extent has the, restoration of output at Iraq's West Qurna 2 oil field, how's that, contributed to the current downward pressure, on Brent and WTI?
Oh, okay. So for Brent and WTI, we'll say that Iraq is also a top oil producing country, and I think is one of the top 10 in the world, and second in Middle East. And so the resumption of production in that oil field accounts for, I think, about 9% of Iraq's oil production, which is about 0.5% of the global oil supply. But given that fact, it is still an increase when it comes to supply of oil in the global market. So it's definitely going to help in terms of driving down the price of oil in the global market. But we have to take note of some things, which means what are the things that affected the odds in oil production in that field. And there are various reasons. They have structural issues, they have leakage of the pipeline, and also there is change in management. So as the market is optimistic and positive in terms of supply side, there are still some reservation as regards hope the issues will not resurface in terms of that oil field. So generally, it has helped in the supply, and if the production continues in that field, it will still continue to help in driving down the price. Although the percentage of supply in that oil field is minute, but it's still an increase when it comes to looking at the general supply curve.
All right,
for
let's
oil
look at
market.
global monetary policy at this point. All eyes on the U.S. Fed tomorrow, getting the last decision of 2025. Consensus is, another cut. But, how would this impact, oil prices, in your opinion, if we get that cut, tomorrow, but it's a hawkish cut? What are you seeing?
Okay, so for the Fed, the decision will be made tomorrow, as you rightly said. And I think the market is pricing in like a 25 basis point cut. And what that means, if what that is the decision the Fed eventually go with, that means would have an increase in demand for commodities, which will even extend to oil price, meaning there will be more funds for manufacturing companies. There will be increase in economic activities, which will help the demand for oil price. But let's not forget that as the demand for oil price is increasing, if there is no corresponding supply of oil, it will definitely drive back the oil price in the global market. So it depends on what the demand trend is, what the supply and the output is going to be. So that will determine what the effect will be like. But generally, if the interest rate is cut, definitely is to help in terms of reducing price pressure in the US. And we might see a shift in portfolio investment to emerging markets like Nigeria and other countries that they have high interest rates. So that could help our our stock market. It could help our bond market as well, which will eventually help the appreciation of the naira, maybe in the short term.
All right, we'll definitely be looking out for that decision and forward guidance from the U.S. Fed. But let's bring it down here now. What are you seeing for domestic commodity prices? I did, see, plantain prices, that's dropped, so far. Hope it maintains that, drop for this dirty December. What are you seeing so far, generally, with prices?
So for commodities prices, what we observed is that most of them remain flat, while we only see an upsurge in onion and pepper. And the reason for the upsurge is because of the seasonality effect and the dry season effect on supply chain for those commodities. So, but for other commodities, they still remain flat because shopping for Christmas and end of the year festive period is just coming up. So by mid-December or towards the end of December, we might see an increase in some prices of the commodities that are flat currently. So let's wait and see how the trend will look like. But for now, seasonality effect is affecting those two perishable goods, while we could see an upsurge in the prices of the other ones going forward.
Right. So, Alima, I guess you're telling me to go and do my Christmas shopping now for all these food commodities.
Please do. You should do.
Right after this show. Fantastic.
So that you have some surplus, yeah.
Please, yeah. Thank you so much, Halima, for bringing out what's playing out in the domestic market. Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, up next, Ellah Lakes. They're making a big play in Nigeria's agribusiness space. The company has announced a major public offer aimed at raising fresh capital and have extended that time. We'll find out more after the break. Turn our attention to Ellah Lakes PLC and the company's ongoing public offer, a major capital raising exercise that sparked conversations across the market, with the offer now extended to December 19th. Let's find out how it's going, so far. Join me now, Mr. Chuka Modi is CEO, Ellah Lakes PLC. Join me right here in the studio. Great to have you, sir. Good morning.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Fantastic. Yeah, so I guess you're giving us like a dirty December extension. For this, we call it that.
Yeah.
At this point, what informed this extension?
Well, primarily to give more time to our institutional investors to come to the offer. We've had a great deal of interest from the retail side. It's been very significant. And it's just to extend it to get institutional investors into the offer.
Right. So we're getting retail, rushing in.
We're getting both, but
Both, okay.
just given the nature of institutional investors, just doing the analysis. But we're very confident about closing the offer.
Right. All right. So let's look at some of the So we're trying to raise 235 billion naira. That's the offer size.
Yes.
Price at 12 naira 50 per share. 18.8 billion ordinary shares. We see the use of proceeds there. Acquisition of ARPN, CPO processing mill, land development, and working capital. So, talk to me, expand on this.
I mean, the major
proceeds.
aspect of this transaction is the acquisition of the oil palm plantation in Edo State. So that puts an additional 22,000 hectares on our balance sheet. Behind Presco and Okomu, we should be third on the listed markets on the Nigeria Stock Exchange. So it's transformational to the nature of our business. It significantly improves our bottom line, increases our margins. It takes us to revenues of over 30 billion naira next year. So we expect it to be dilutive to current shareholders, but in terms of value accretion and capital gains, very significant.
Right.
Yeah.
And when it comes to that dilution, how worried are you about that?
I mean, we had an EGM. Our shareholders understood exactly what we're doing and the value that accrues to them. So I think everyone's happy with the structure and the nature of the transaction. It's an all-equity deal. There's no debt involved because we thought that's the most optimal way of financing a transaction of this size. With the credit environment at 24, 25% interest rates, it just made sense to raise equity.
All right. So 235 billion. Are we going to hit this amount?
We expect to, yes. We're very confident of that.
Right. And if we don't hit
it's about $170 million in USD. I think given the nature of the market, given the nature of the environment, I think using the benchmark of Presco, Okomu, and seeing what they've done in terms of share price appreciation, but also in terms of profitability, margins, it's a very good deal. And I think we've priced it at 12.50. Our year high is about 19 naira, because I think it gives a lot of upside to investors and new investors. So I think it's a ground floor opportunity for investors who want to come in at the price. So that makes us very confident.
Right. So talking about the top priority projects,
yes.
the aiming for, you mentioned the acquisition of ARPN, CPO, processing mill. What else should we expect from this?
What we should expect is Ellah Lakes going across the entire value chain in palm oil. So we will produce CPO, crude palm oil. We'll produce PKO, palm kernel oil. We'll produce PKC, palm kernel cake. And that's all from the mill that we install over the next few months. But I think going up the value chain, we intend to go into refining, so oleins, stearins, and everything along the value chain of oil palm.
Right. Yeah. And, looking at 2025, if you're looking at the previous years,
yes.
Before now, how would you describe, doing business, in 2025 and, raising capital?
I think you need to raise capital in order to expand. I think there are two forms of growth that we've always envisaged. Is the organic growth, which we had in our first plantation in Edo State. So we planted there, we installed a mill this year. We got debt financing from the CBN, so intervention financing, which is what enabled us to install a mill. But I think you want to go to a different level where Presco, Okomu, so that requires a significant amount of equity, and that's why we're doing this capital raise. But I think once we install the mill, in many ways it's a transformational transaction for us. With the oil palm price, with the revenues that come on, I think we're looking towards being $1 billion company inside the next 5 years, and I think it's a very achievable objective, especially in the current Nigerian environment.
Right, I've seen some of the images and videos.
Yes, so that's the mill we installed this year, the CPO mill. That's the nursery. So we intend to plant just over 1,500 hectares in Igwelaba estate in Edo State over the course of the next season. So we're expanding quite significantly. This is just all organic growth, discounting the acquisition.
Right, and looking at the share price,
yes.
At this point, year to date, up about 337%.
Yes.
That's for Ellah Lakes. Month to date, I think we're at about 16%.
Yeah.
Closing price yesterday, 13 naira. 70 kobo. So I guess investors had it good.
I'm
the
glad
share
they
price.
have, and I think given the number of investors we have, it's gratifying to finally add value for them after Ellah Lakes' performance over the last few years. So we expect that's going to help our capital raise. Current investors have seen 3x in terms of the capital growth over the last few months. We expect when we start paying dividends next year, so they'll have capital growth and dividend income. So we expect that to grow the company.
In the next 6 to 12 months, say, fast forward, capital raise is done, you've hit your target, maybe exceeded it, at this point, what concrete milestones should investors look out for?
I think two things, the diversification, because we're doing livestock and we're doing oil palm. I think in terms of concrete achievements, we start paying dividends next year, so shareholders should expect to get dividend income, and that's one of the long-term objectives that we've been trying to achieve over the past few years. We want to expand and grow a significant company inside the Nigerian agribusiness space, and I think that's very possible and very doable.
Right. Yeah. And what kind of feedback have you been getting from the institutional investors? What's the word on the street?
I don't know about the word on the street. Well, all the bilateral meetings we've had have been very encouraging. So we're very happy with the progress that we've been making. Very happy. Yeah.
All right. So if the offer, let's just say, worst case scenario, it's not fully subscribed, what next?
Well, one, it doesn't have to be fully subscribed. We've placed in some contingency. We've raised some internal financing already. We've raised money internally in debt-to-equity conversions earlier in the year. So we expect to close a significant part of the transaction, whatever the case.
Right. Yeah. And, looking at, agribusiness in Nigeria, in 2025, how optimistic are you, going into 2026?
Very, very optimistic. I think specifically in our sector and our line of business, if you look at the two leading companies, there's Presco, there's Okomu. They've made incredible profits over the last 2-3 years. The oil palm market is very strong. Palm oil consumption is growing in Nigeria. And I think as the macro improves, the population increases, consumption grows. So even if we double production locally over the next 2-3 years, there's still a significant market, and we'd see how to import palm oil into Nigeria. So we're very confident about the general macro and the sector in particular. And I think as we grow industrially, the industrial uses of palm oil, its derivatives, it's a very, very, very large market. And I think there's space for 10, 15 Prescos with a market cap of over $1 billion in Nigeria. So I don't view them as competition. I think we view them more as complementary in the space, because there's so much space to expand this particular business. So we're very, very optimistic about the future.
Right. And you did mention, when it comes to, capital raising, some look at debt. And you did mention, interest rates are really high. Very high. But we had a cut. Yes. This year we also had a hold next. Does that give you, confidence in 2026 that, where the rates are going to, go down?
I mean, it's a function of two things, right? The general macro environment and the inflationary outlook. Inflation has been declining over the last few quarters. So we expect if inflation goes below the current rate by a few more basis points, then we expect there should be more cuts in interest rates over the long term. I think it depends on the view the CBN chooses to take over how much liquidity they want in the system, over how aggressive they want to cut rates. But as long as the trend is downwards, the trajectory is downwards, it's encouraging. I think rates can get to a place where we would participate in the debt market, but at the present time, it's just not optimal for the kind of growth we want, which is why we're doing this fundraising by equity. But I think, if we go to the low double digits, and hopefully, I think to power economic growth, we want to get to single-digit rates, but that's primarily a function of inflation. And I think if we can get there with the macro outlook improving, then it's just increased growth for all sectors, not just the agribusiness sector. So it's dependent on a strong macro, it's dependent on growth, and I think that lifts everyone at the same time. So I think we're very optimistic, we're very hopeful. if we carry on this current trajectory, then we should get there in 2025.
And looking at the global space, and right here in Nigeria, we're seeing inflation, tending downward, but it seems there's still that affordability problem. People still say, when you go to the markets, consumers are still strained. Yes. Even though we're seeing inflation, the numbers, the data, tending downward. How confident are you that the consumer will stay strong or get strength, in 2026?
Well, consumer prices are driven by a variety of things. I think in the food sector, infrastructure, which is one of those externalities that cannot be controlled by private companies. If we improve the infrastructure from farm gates to market, that means more goods get to market. That means affordability can be dealt with because there's more of a surplus in terms of the market. So I think that's a combination of private sector, public sector working together to try and deal with certain issues. But that's just one of the factors that affects the pricing. I think if inflation keeps on trending downwards, then it'll be more affordable for consumers in the food sector, and that's generally across the board. If we have a stable exchange rate, then just importation of heavy equipment, industrial goods, it means we have a long-term outlook with stability. So I think the macro is also very important in these things, in affordability for the common man. So government policy translates downwards to these things, affordability. So I think it's a function of also policy issues for government.
And I'm hoping that we can buy, a bag of rice cheaper.
I'm hoping you can buy a drum of palm oil cheaper.
And drum of palm oil.
Yeah. And
cheaper.
Cheaper palm oil is not necessarily a bad thing for us, because if we have cheaper palm oil, increased volumes, it means better margins. So there are a variety of ways I think that the market benefits from even cheaper food and cheaper goods. It means less inflation. I mean, the inflation basket is comprised of also food. So if food price inflation goes down, it means inflation goes down in general. So if we can get more goods to market, it means we're selling at lower prices, better margins, but consumption increases because it's more affordable for the consumer. So that, I think, is the objective for all of us.
All right. Yeah. So we have an extension for this offer.
To the 19th
I've called it the
yes.
Dirty December offer.
Yes, the Dirty December offer.
At this point, what do you have to say to investors? At this point.
No, I think what we've said consistently. I think at 12 naira 50 kobo, it's a great price. It's, I think, ground floor entry in comparison to the other listed entities. So at 12.50, we're very, very confident that it's attractive to the retail investors and the institutional investors. So we're confident of closing.
All right, we'll keep tracking this offer. Thank you so much, Mr. Chuka Modi, the CEO, Ellah Lakes PLC. Thank you very much today.
Thank you.
All right, we'll take a break. When we come back, we'll look at the Imo State 2025 Economic Summit, what played out and what it means for that state. That's in a moment. Just stay with us. All right, now to our next conversation. Imo State's 2025 Economic Summit themed Unlocking Imo's Economic Potential. aims to transform the state into a new investment frontier with commitments on infrastructure, energy, policy support, and the summit seeks to attract investors, create jobs, and drive real economic growth. Focus now is turning these ambitious plans into tangible results for citizens and businesses. Joining me for this conversation now, Mr. Jerry Chukwueke is a public affairs analyst, former chief technical advisor to the Imo State governor. Join me right here in the studio. It's great to have you, sir. Good morning.
Thank you very much. I'm glad to be here.
Fantastic.
Thank you.
So, I was watching the summit, last week, and I was surprised, at the lineup, sort of likes of Boris Johnson, Ban Ki-moon, other big names. What's the significance of these big names coming for this summit?
Well, it just clearly demonstrated the capacity of our governor in drawing attention to Imo State economic and investment opportunities. It was a great political economy show. To achieve that, he needed to attract people whose names will resonate across the globe to come and experience Imo in terms of the opportunities we have economically and the investment opportunities, and to essentially also testify to the fact that Imo is more and more secure for business and investment. Former Prime Minister Boris Johnson was very clear in his speech. He said, listen, I feel very safe in Imo State. And that was quite weighty. So our governor did a great job. And keep in mind what the strategy is here. He's planning for the future of Imo State. So, and what are those future? Well, what does that pertain? He first deliberately focused on infrastructural transformation. So he built quality roads and bridges and drainage, street lights and all. And then the major cities, particularly Owerri, Olo, and parts of Okigwe, now he's moving on the rural roads. Then he focused on the Orashi Energy City. Imo State has the only free trade gas zone in the southeast. Bear in mind that we are the gateway to the southeast. And so he's focused on that. Over 140,000 square hectares of land for agro-business and hydrocarbon opportunities. And he's doing a great job attracting them as well, just as we did see on the second day of the summit, where, for example, Walter Smith is building a 70 megawatts of power in Imo, first stage 35, being funded by the Africa Finance Corporation. Beyond that, our governor established one of the biggest industrial parks in the southeast, and working hard towards the dredging of Ellah Lake and the Orashi River access to the sea.
That's quite interesting,
So we can go on and on. And look at this. We have in Imo State as a major opportunity, and his strategy for power supply, even now, invested to draw power from the national grid in specific power infrastructure to start to power strategic areas of Imo State starting this December, even before the Orashi Energy City is ready. So here we go. The Imo International Cargo Airport is ready. Facilities and all pretty much activated. And so we have major opportunities in agriculture, processing, and being able to move goods across the country and process goods across the country and outside of Nigeria. And including things like feed. When you talk about establishing feed farms, very important. And so all of the processing opportunities are there. And then the technology part that is built, invested in the Imo Digital City, trained over 40,000 young people who are now part of the global economy and global workforce opportunities. And now Zynox Technologies pledged over $5 million a few days ago to also build an incubation center of technology-driven and information tech young people
it's fantastic.
for employment. So we have huge opportunities.
Right.
Dangote also is interested in gas processing and fertilizer plant.
What did Mr. Dangote say again? He said something.
He said, tell me where I'm convinced that
Right.
you're ready, Mr. Governor. Tell me where you want me to invest, and I'm ready because I'm looking at the opportunities in the hydrocarbon, gas processing, and fertilizer plant. And he means business. So we have many people. And bear in mind, Imo people have lots of highly successful entrepreneurs. I mean, in logistics, in oil and gas, all manners of opportunities, and also in the diaspora. So we have them in the business of tourism. We have them in the business of medical technology and medical tourism. Imo has huge educated workforce. So we have great opportunities.
Right. And
we have a group, and I just leave you with this for a moment.
Right.
A group of Imo key players in the business industry and professionals called the Imo Economic Development Initiative, chaired by former INEC chairman, Professor Maurice Iwu. And we're engaging currently to further collaborate with the governor to flesh out his vision for Imo. So Imo is open for business, and I think the governor's speech captured that very well.
Well, fantastic, and you've painted quite a picture, there. And I remember, visiting Imo State as a kid,
Yes.
because that's where my mom's from.
I
So
see.
I visited her village,
Yes.
in Imbise, and
see.
I'm wondering, what's Imbise like?
Well, guess
at this
what?
point?
Guess what? You should
Because
visit.
you mentioned the rural areas.
Are you kidding me? You should visit. So here's the deal. From Owerri, the city of Owerri, to Umuahia, which is the route of the Mbise local government, is high-quality infrastructure with drainage and street lights. You won't recognize it. It takes now some 30 minutes to get to Umuahia from Owerri, and you crisscross the Mbise local government. So the governor's infrastructure transformation is on ground for all to see, and his focus, the way we're experiencing it, is now the rural roads. And to focus on rural roads, working with local governments to ensure that the transformation is felt more in the local areas.
Right.
And I think that's a great thing.
All right, so several sectors were highlighted: agriculture, manufacturing, energy, technology, innovation that you've mentioned, mining. How realistic is Imo States to attract investment to all of these sectors simultaneously?
Yes.
Or should we just focus on one?
Well, so, see, that's the local investors' opportunities now. Because you know that foreign investment is founded on the confidence level of local investors. They go where local investors are. And that's where the Imo Economic Development Initiative, working to support the governor, will play an important part. Because many of our entrepreneurs are on the ground in Nigeria, and they can showcase where this can go. For example, Imo has one of the most significant proven reserves of natural gas. And that's feedstock for power generation. And with power, everything else opens up. And that is why they focus on Orashi Energy City, which will come on stream in due course, but making great progress, will be very significant. And then the industrial park. Listen, what we want is for companies, manufacturing, processing, to come situate in the gas-free zone. Because the governor is laid out even a digitalized root title document assessment and ease of doing business. So people can have their documents, root title documents, without delays, and have bankable documents to raise funds for investment. Very important for us. And then to create more and more road infrastructure. So we link, market, the whole business of farm-to-market strategy. So the vision for Imo is clear, and he's laid a solid foundation. We now have to take it from there, keep fleshing it out.
Right.
And that's the point. So can we do several things simultaneously? Yes, because we can do agricultural value chain. We can do power generation to feed IMO and neighboring states. IMO, in terms of the agricultural value chain, IMO being a gateway, its feedstock is at the southeast. Because the main game with that, keeping an eye on the international cargo airport that is ready, and that an international cargo airport that is now 24/7 functional in a true sense, then you have a chance to process agricultural products, the agricultural value chain, and move them out and get them to the markets on time. So that's important. So while you're doing that, IMO is strong in tourism, hotels and restaurants. We have over 70% hotel occupancy rates in Imo State year-round, and it's only getting better. More so now with the strategic power supply. So we have a whole lot of things. Medical tourism, a lot of investments come to Imo from the diaspora. And so this whole economic summit was also designed to encourage Imos in the diaspora to bring home some more money.
Right.
Because we need to create more and more jobs.
And,
so
bringing in more money, definitely FDI. We want to see more FDIs.
Absolutely.
More than FPIs.
Absolutely.
At this point. But, for you, what would you say are the risks to these big plans, for Imo State?
Okay, so here. The governors laid the foundation. Now, the future of Imo, and those who understand his agenda and the transformation agenda must be prepared to take it to that next level you're talking about. They have to be prepared. Now, in addition to that, if you look at the workforce that is growing by day, technology-wise, being equipped as part of the global workforce, that's important for that future. But the foundation is laid. He can't do everything. He's got 2 more years or so to go. And he's going to stay on it just to lay that solid foundation for Imo takeoff. We're on the wrong way, but we now need to continue the transformation. And part of it also is to continue to improve security. So security is improving. We're not quite all there, but there is progress, and we just have to keep that forward momentum. And that will help very much.
Fantastic. Thank you for mentioning security there. And, for painting the picture, I want to respect for Imo State. It was great having you for this conversation. Sir, Mr. Jerry Chukwueke is a political economist and a former chief technical advisor to the Imo State governor. It was great having you.
Thank you very much. I had fun.
Fantastic. Thank you so much, sir. All right. So let's take a quick one now. See, TY Logistics Park. We see Governor Babajide Sanwo-Olu officially inaugurated the new TY Logistics Park inside Lekki Free Zone at Laro City, a move hailed as a major boost for Lagos infrastructure and commerce. The state says the facility will strengthen logistics, ease freight flow, and attract fresh investment. Take a listen.
TY Logistics Park, located in Laro City at the Lekki Free Zone, is a state-of-the-art trade and warehousing complex newly built on 29,000 square meters to enhance the movement of goods across Nigeria and West Africa. The unveiling of the new facility has attracted the Lagos State Governor, Babajide Sanwo-Olu, and his counterpart from Taraba State, Governor Abu Kafis. Diplomats, industrial leaders have all come to the Lekki Free Zone to be part of another historic initiative that will address logistics issues in Lagos and beyond.
Today is a milestone, not just for the promoters of this development, but for Nigeria, for Africa, and for the future of international trade and modern logistics on the continent. This project shows us a glimpse of the future. It's a moment that highlights what becomes possible when you combine visionary leadership, strong partnerships, and deep commitment to national progress.
TY Logistics Park, FZE, now delivers full contract logistics solutions to medium and large businesses across the fast-moving consumer goods sector, electronics, automotive parts, fashion, pharmaceuticals, and many other industries.
Governor Kefis, who has also invested in the logistics park, described the project as a deliberate effort to advance development and economic progress in Nigeria.
We are happy to be here in Lagos State to see and witness this laudable initiative that will bring development, progress to Nigeria and Africa. We are very proud to be part of this success story today. This will continue to be another way of joint relationship between Taraba State and Lagos State.
Put your hands together for him.
For Governor Sanwo-Olu, the project aligns with Lagos's push to modernize logistics, attract foreign investment, and accelerate economic growth.
This TY Logistics Park FZE is not just an impressive development, it's a statement about what our country is headed for and what serious-minded institutions can achieve when they place a bet on Nigeria's future. The TY holding today stands again to come and hand over this park, shows how committed and the level of belief they have for the investment climate in this country. And so for us in Lagos, we're extremely very appreciative. It means a lot to us.
The glory of God, the benefit of mankind, in the name of God the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit.
The commissioning of the TY Logistics Park has again ranked Lagos as the preferred destination for investment. And government, in its part, believe the park will make a significant boost to Nigeria's logistics and supply chain infrastructure.
All right, let's check out what's going on in the global economy at this point. John McQuarrie has the details. I don't know if Trump is in there
Trump
somewhere.
is everywhere in the news, laddie.
Right.
He's giving you guys enough break, so don't expect any break.
It's been a while.
Yeah, and you know, laddie, I mean, the surprising one for me is how President Trump is getting involved in the Warner Bros. And Netflix
sales.
Big
deals.
I mean, I would really like to know what's on his mind and why he's getting involved. And to think that this transaction has gotten to a stage where papers and signatures have been exchanged, and that's when all this drama is coming up. Well,
I guess he doesn't want any form of monopoly. You know, he wants.
I don't know if to call it monopoly.
Free market. You know,
I don't know if to call it monopoly.
Well, we'll see.
Exactly. Good morning, everyone. Let's start, of course, with President Trump, where he is granted NVIDIA Corporation permission to ship its H200 chip, artificial intelligence chip, to China in exchange for a 25% surcharge, a move that lets the world's most valuable company potentially regain billions of dollars that it lost in business from a key global market. The decision was announced by President Trump in a post on his Truth Social network, capping weeks of deliberations with advisors about whether to allow H200 exports to China. Trump says that he informed Chinese President Xi Jinping about the move and that she had responded favorably. He adds that shipments would only go to approved customers and that chip makers such as Intel Corp and Advanced Micro Devices in Corp World would also be eligible for that. And yes, the drama about Netflix and all, President Trump has flagged potential concerns over Netflix's planned $72 billion deal to buy Warner Brothers Discovery's movie studio and popular HBO streaming networks. At the event in Washington, D.C., he said that Netflix has a big market share and that the firm's combined size could be a problem. The two companies had said that they had reached an agreement to bring Warner Brothers franchises like Harry Potter and Game of Thrones to Netflix, creating a new media giant. And the planned deal, which has raised concerns among some people in the industry, is yet to be approved by competition authorities. The BBC has contacted Warner Bros., Netflix, and the White House for comment on this. Still in the United States, the military said that they are planning to develop a fleet of small-scale refineries to produce critical minerals used to make bullets, armor, and other types of weaponry. And that's a move that's aimed at developing domestic sources for materials that Chinese miners have long controlled. The plans, which have not been previously reported, are being developed by the U.S. Army alongside Idaho National Laboratory and antimony and gold miner Perpetual Resources, with antimony being the first mineral that the military aims to refine. Still in the United States, the world's biggest climate philanthropy has given $24.5 million to protect coastal ecosystems as part of a plan to create the planet's first cross-border marine biosphere reserve. And the 4 grants are from Bezos Earth Fund, that's the name of the fund, are intended to help local communities and organizations protect key marine areas in Costa Rica, Panama, Colombia, and Ecuador. The grants form part of a plan to give $1 billion towards the world's goal of protecting 30% of the planet's land and oceans by 2030. And as part of the Protecting Our Planet Challenge with 10 other philanthropies, the group of donors is aiming to provide $5 billion over the same period. Away from the United States now, the European Central Bank has once again asked Italy to rethink declaring its gold reserves the property of its people, a move critics say could open the door to the government selling off bullion. And in a legal opinion dated on Monday, the governing council urged Premier Giorgia, the government, to review the proposal following a request from Italy's finance ministry in Frankfurt to study an updated version of the plan. French Prime Minister is facing a key vote on the social security budget. That's happening today, and it risks fueling political turbulence and uncertainty over how the country will plug holes in its public finances. The National Assembly will vote on the bill, which covers spending on welfare, health, and pensions for 2026, and contains key concessions that the minority government made to opposition groups to allow it stay in power. The outcome is highly uncertain, as earlier votes on portions of the bill passed by only thin margins, with splits emerging among parties and even within groups that have previously supported the premier. And over in Thailand now, the foreign tourist arrivals went down 7.19% in the first 11 months of 2025 compared to the same period last year. This is according to data released by the Tourism Ministry. And the country welcomed 30.27 million foreign visitors from January 1 to December 7, according to the ministry. And Malaysia has emerged as the largest source market with 4.23 million visitors, narrowly ahead of China, which contributed 4.18 million tourists during the period.
All righty, thank you so much for that update. And let's get definitely the markets are open right here for the local bourse. And we see trading, that's on right now, about 5 basis points up, 147,497 points. So I guess still looking quite positive today for the local bourse. Most actively traded stocks, Access Holdings, Fidelity Bank, Ellah Lakes. Yeah, we just had a conversation right now. That's getting investor attention. Zenith Bank, Guarantee, Trust Holding at this point. So those are stocks getting attention there. We'll give you an update by 1:30 on what's playing out with the markets that we track, global and right here in Lagos, Nigeria. Thank you for watching Business Morning. I'm Ladi Williams from the team right here at Channels HQ. Bye for now.